Football is back, and the preseason is upon us. Barcelona have already kicked off their preseason tour in Tokyo against Chelsea, and they'll continue it in Japan against Vissel Kobe before returning home for the Juan Gamper Trophy against Arsenal. After that, the preseason continues in the United States, where Barcelona will take on Serie A opponent Napoli in Miami and Ann Arbor. It's a low-stress time for culés. It is the preseason after all, but a number of players could see their seasons defined by whether or not they can impress Ernesto Valverde and his coaching staff right now. Let's see some of those players. Hi, I'm Dan Hilton, and this is the Barcelona Podcast, YouTube exclusive. Let's start with a player with maybe the least to prove as a professional, but the most to prove in a new shirt. After making the Nations League final with the Netherlands and the Champions League semifinal with Ajax, Frenkie de Jong is good. We know that. But coming to Barcelona means that he will have to fight for a spot in a crowded midfield that includes Sergio Busquets, Ivan Rakitic, Arturo Vidal, Artur, and Carlos Alenya. He'll play plenty, but when push comes to shove, will Valverde trust him over his holdovers? As I said, he probably has the least to prove. Next up is a player with everything to prove. Having only played 10 first-team games at Toulouse before coming to Barcelona in January and playing in 2 La Liga matches against Huesca and Celta de Vigo, we don't really know what Jean-Claude Todibo is quite yet, but we do know that he's promising. He can play both center-back and defensive midfielder, and the depth chart this season looks like his primary role would be as Gerard Piqué's backup. If he can really impress now, maybe Valverde considers giving him more than the occasional 1 or 2 appearances per month. If that's the case, maybe the club would be wiser to trust a Barcelona B center-back as the 4th center-back and send Todibo out on loan to get more time. Lastly, since he can play at the defensive midfielder spot, if Busquets, De Jong, Rakitic, and maybe Vidal aren't occupying that spot, is Todibo still the choice over Oriol Busquets? More on that later. When mentioning the midfielders at Barcelona, it takes a little bit of time to get to Carlos Alenya. We seem to end every list with, and Carlos Alenya. Alenya was brought on slowly last season, having been injured over the summer and missing preseason. He started with the B team and was integrated into the first team throughout the fall. This season, he's a full-fledged member of the first team, even though he so graciously gave up his number to De Jong, and I think there is a real chance that Alenya can push Vidal for playing time. Alongside De Jong, this team could move a little quicker, and Vidal certainly serves his role, but if De Jong changes the way Barcelona played this season in the ways that he could, it might suit Alenya a great deal, and he can start showcasing that to Valverde now. Antoine Griezmann and Frenkie de Jong should be starters this season, but the other transfer in definitely won't be. While Jasper Cillessen has gone to be the starter at Valencia, a position he deserves, Neto will look to get his Copa del Rey and random La Liga starts this season. However, if he does struggle during the preseason, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Ter Stegen takes some of those starts that Cillessen had earned. Unfortunately for the Brazilian netminder, the preseason looks like a time where he has much to lose and little to gain. Rafinha, culés will always like Rafinha. His skill set and quality has always made him feel like a perfect squad player at Barcelona. All parties would agree that he was never good enough to push into the starting 11, but he's clearly shown his ability time and again as a valuable member of the team. If rumors are to be believed, he won't be at the club for much longer, regardless of his preseason. Let's stay in the midfield. Ever heard of Riqui Puig? He's probably the reason this video was made, and probably the reason most people clicked on it. Last year he played 32 matches for the B team, provided 7 assists, and was regularly the team's best player. While he physically doesn't look like he's dominating a game, he was clearly a class above most of his competition down in the 3rd division. His sparkling performances earned him La Liga starts against Huesca and Celta de Vigo after appearing in the Copa del Rey back in December. The soon-to-be 20-year-old, for all his promise and hype that we ascribe to him, is nearing that part of his career where he has to get first-team football to reach his potential. For puzzling reasons, he has never been on the Spanish national team radar, and for as much as he's wowed in training, he's never played an official match with Messi, or any of the other regulars for that matter. Of all the players on this list, Riqui Puig might have the most to gain and the most to lose during this preseason. Speaking of 20-year-olds, Oriol Busquets is another player nearing a crucial moment in his career. An injury 2 seasons ago derailed last season, where he got 55 minutes in a December Copa del Rey fixture and wasn't seen again for the first team. He made 30 appearances for Barcelona B and showed flashes of his former self, but seemed to have trouble shaking off the lingering effects of that torn meniscus. Barcelona may already be lining up a loan deal for the player because unfortunately he needs first team time, and even with a terrific preseason, I can't imagine Valverde pushing him any higher up the depth chart than he is now. A great preseason could lead to a loan move to a side that would suit him instead of any side that will take him. If not, it's back to Barcelona B to see if he takes that next step against inferior competition. At this point, we've got two different groups of players to go over. With the South American contingent still on vacation, there are some minutes in preseason for some of the Barcelona B names to impress. To me, Ronald Araújo, Carlos Perez, Hiroki Abe, Juan Miranda, and Abel Ruiz are players that could be of service to the first team. For Carlos Perez, depending on transfer business still left and potential injuries throughout the season, the 21-year-old could provide some cover more than the 17-minute cameo he had against Eibar last season. As has been the theme, it seems a little like a do-or-die season for the Catalan. He's too talented to play in the third division, but may never crack the code at the Camp Nou, and a quality preseason could see a positive move for him. Araujo will most likely be a starter for the B team, but as mentioned with Todibo, a good preseason could have the 20-year-old Uruguayan trusted as a fill-in center back, much like Chumi was last season. Araujo making the preseason squad over Chumi and Jorge Cuenca tell you all you need to know about the potential futures of the latter two. Abe has joined the team probably for no other reason than as an ambassador for the club in Japan, but he was still the J-League Young Player of the Year in 2018 and is a quality talent that will be playing with Barcelona B. If he impresses in training, a Copa del Rey appearance or two could be in his near future. Abel Ruiz and Juan Miranda are currently playing with the Spain U19s and may not feature for the first team in preseason at all. You'd think that the club has seen enough from Miranda to know what they want from him, and Abel Ruiz needs to have a bit of a bounce-back season in the goal-scoring department to get opportunities at the top level. Still, they are teenagers, and it's not time to hit the panic button just yet. Our other group of names includes Guillem, Alex Callado, Manchu, and Iñaki Peña. When it comes to these four, I don't think any preseason will change where the club sees them. Callado was gifted a La Liga debut late last season, a fitting reward for Puig's midfield partner, but it's hard to see him getting anything more than Copa del Rey appearances. Guillem, meanwhile, seems to be following in the footsteps of Sergi Valencia, without all the buzz around him. Manchu does have the quality and can play in any of the midfield positions, but the 19-year-old is a ways down the depth chart. Finally, Iñaki Peña will be the Barcelona B keeper with Neto signed as Ter Stegen's backup, and whether or not this is good for the young goalkeeper is yet to be seen, but hopefully he gets to make his first team debut sometime this season. Let's end this video by talking about players not involved in the first team preseason, but who could still make a huge impact in preseason. Ansu Fati and Iash Mariba, two players much talked about on both the podcast and on this channel, will be playing primarily with Juvenil A under new manager Victor Valdez. At the moment, however, the two 16-year-olds are doing their preseason with Francisco Pimienta and Barcelona B. At top clubs nowadays, it seems like any academy player that could break straight into the first team is identified by 16 or 17. It's unfortunate, but it seems to be the new reality. It wasn't easy, but both Fati and Mariba were renewed this season, and the club clearly has big plans for the duo. You knew Riqui Puig should be on this list, but if there's any names that you think I missed, leave those names down in the comments and give me a why. Keep checking this channel for more videos like this, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, Forza Barca.